All right. Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Rithmm Rundown with myself, Josh Applebaum, and my partner in crime, one of the sharpest guys I know, Mr. Cade Harper. Cade, another Thursday night here. And again, you and I did so many shows talking NFL, college football. We started a transition starting last week. Again, NFL season's over. Yeah, we can bet on the draft here coming up at some point. And obviously, win totals are something that I like to bet as well. And I did see DraftKings actually unveiled some of their NFL win totals. So I'm not going to bet those yet, Cade, but I do have a notebook that I specifically put in win totals in, and then I, timestamp them with a date, see how they develop over the year. So I'm actually, intrigued to see how these win totals will move based on free agency and draft and all that kind of stuff. But with that being said, football's on the back burner. We really transitioned here to college basketball. So if you're like me in New England, it's been a long winter. It's been freezing cold. We've gotten a lot of snow. But Cade, I don't know what it's like in Ohio, but it was like 40 degrees today. The snow's starting to melt. I took my dog for a walk and birds were chirping. It felt like spring, man. So I think we might get some more snow actually over the next 2 days. So that's a buzzkill, but just gets me excited to bet, March Madness, conference tournaments, MLB. Obviously, we got actually the Red Sox, my favorite team. They're going to play Northeastern, their first spring training game tomorrow. So it just goes to show you that as a sports bettor, maybe you're upset, you're down, as I am, and you Cade, that football is over with. But we've really transitioned here to just what's next on the calendar. I think as a sports bettor, obviously you have the sports that you feel like you're best at, or you have the finger on the pulse of the most. But we want to be well-rounded bettors. We want to bet full, the full season. And when we transition from one sport to another, we want to make sure that we're doing our best to kind of target that sport specifically, and that's what Rithmm does a great job of, helping us to find these edges, find these discrepancies. So I'm looking forward to a big night tonight here, Cade, talking college basketball. Now, I have 3 plays for you, really, really small games. So what I like about Rithmm too is that they give you angles and predictions on games that probably no one else is talking about. So I have an added game, extra game I want to hit on: Florida A&M and Alabama A&M. Another late game, small game, Montana State, Weber State. And then the last game of the night for me is going to be Cal Irvine and actually UC Davis and Cal State Fullerton. And then I know, Cade, you have a couple bets that you're looking at for tomorrow and big Saturday, obviously, as well. So with that being said, it's going to be all college hoops. We even created our own system, Cade, our own model last week. That was kind of fun. We created the rundown model, looking at different categories and how to approach it. We have some systems that are lining up and predictions here with that model here. So with that being said, Cade, welcome in, my man. How you doing? And give me your thought process on switching from NFL to college basketball. But overall, my man, welcome into the show.
Yeah. Feels weird. It was like first week without football. It was kind of just like not a whole lot going on though. Had a couple of college basketball cards go out this week. Been pretty even. I don't want to say we're necessarily up or down an astronomical amount. It's been kind of 50-50 all around this week. But definitely going to start picking up as kind of the public begins to kind of get in on these action games for sure. Specifically, this weekend is a huge one. First weekend without football, every eye is going to be on these games, I can imagine. So it's going to be massive, and I'm very excited. But yeah, that's why we're here. So let's break them down.
Yeah, exactly. And you hit on a good point here too, because, I don't know if every sports bettor is grinding, weeknight college basketball like we are, Cade. I know there's a lot of us out there, but you get to those Saturdays, those, weekend slates where you have big ranked teams going head to head. You have people who, are working throughout the week and maybe can't do their own research. That's again where Rithmm comes in to give you these, smart signals and Green Star recommendations. But when you get to Saturday, I mean, number one, I think the big advantage is just volume. I mean, there's over like 150 games. That gives us more opportunities to maximize our edge, more system matches and recommendations from Rithmm we can take advantage of. But then also that contrarian angle, trying to go against the public, because the public, they're thirsty to bet on something. They're missing NFL. So when you get to these big Saturday slates, if you can give me 2 ranked teams or an unranked versus ranked, or a ESPN, ABC, Fox game where everyone's loading up on one side, but the line's kind of going the other way, those are the games you love to bet on, or at least I do for sure. So looking forward to a big weekend here ahead. Now, when we jump into these games here for tonight, Cade, I'm going to kind of refresh how I approach these games, because I think you want to look at, not every game the same like you would in the NFL. For example, in the NFL, if it's a Sunday slate, every game is going to be extremely heavily bet aside from, the primetime ones, the Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. But you can kind of take this similar approach to any game. They're going to be heavily bet. The public waited all week to bet them, and pretty much you're in an equal footing with all these games. College basketball to me is kind of the complete opposite, Cade, because I think when you're looking at betting college hoops, you want to have an idea of what kind of game am I betting on. Am I betting on a obscure, tiny little added extra game, 6-digit rotation number? Again, I make the joke of if you can't name the mascot, if it's not on TV, if you got to pay for ESPN Plus to watch it, that's probably a game that's low bet. Public doesn't have much interest in it. However, those are the games where line moves are meaningful to me because even though the public may not care too much about that little tiny matchup, if you see line movement, as long as it's not an injury, that's typically wise guy money that's targeted that game. And remember, sharp bettors, wise guys, wise gals, pros, whatever you want to call them, they don't care if it's a heavily bet game or not, Cade. Like if it's Kennesaw State against Murray State, and they have an edge, they're going to play it. They don't care that, it's not on TV. It's not going to, I go into the bar, tell the bartender to put the game on. They can't find the channel. No, they're going to bet it because of their edge. The public, they're going to bet on what's on ESPN that night at 8 o'clock. So that's the one angle of low bet games. I focus on line moves that overlap with rhythm predictions. Then you get your big time matchups. Your heavily bet primetime games, ranked teams. These are the games that I go more contrarian in because you have more lopsided action, more public bias to go against. With that being said, the 3 games I have for us tonight are all in the first category. Tiny little games that you probably can't name the mascots on, but the market's moving in one direction, and more importantly, rhythm is telling us there's an edge there. So that being said, first game that I want to talk about, it's a late game here tonight between UC Davis and Cal State Fullerton. First, let me share my screen. Just pop open Rithmm so everyone can see the Rithmm homepage, and we'll go to this game and try to identify an edge, which Rithmm actually has a pretty good edge on. But what I like to do first is, hey, let's just set the stage. Let's talk about this game from a market-based standpoint. First thing that jumps out to me here, Cade, is UC Davis comes in 16-10. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're playing well. Cal State Fullerton just 13-14. They had a 3-game win streak that just ended. But what I look for is kind of fishy angles where a team with a losing record is favored over a team with a winning record, because those are the games that don't make much sense. Like even with Cal State Fullerton at home tonight, they open as like a 1-point favorite. Now you could make the case that neutral court, UC Davis is quote unquote the better team. But even though Cal State Fullerton, tiny, 10 o'clock game, late night, you got to have ESPN Plus to watch this one. They open -1, and at a lot of books, they're now up to -1.5. So that's my first indicator of no one woke up today, especially an East Coaster like me, saying, I got to stay up late and sweat UC Davis, Cal State Fullerton. However, even though it's a low bet game, we have seen this line move toward Cal State Fullerton, -1 up to -1.5. So that's my first indication of, hey, Cal State Fullerton might be the play here. I also like the bet splits, in particular going money line short favorites. You and I talk about this all the time, Cade. We don't want to lay a 1.5 win by 1 and can't go to sleep that night because we're so mad that we didn't pay the extra juice and protect ourselves. So you can get Cal State Fullerton like -120. I really like the splits on Fullerton at DK. They're only getting like 43% bets, but over 90% of the money line dollars. They are much better at not turning it over. If you sweat enough college hoops, teams that turn it over constantly are going to just aggravate you, and that's a recipe for losing. They're 82nd in fewest turnover percentage this year versus UC Davis, 283rd. Home road is big to me. These are not professionals. These are college kids. It's hard to go on the road and win. Again, pros, not so much. They're used to it. But Cal State Fullerton, even though they have a losing record, they're actually 8-3 at home. UC Davis is 4-7 on the road. Also, revenge angle. You get into conference play. We're late in the year, Cade. We can kind of go back into the schedule and see how these teams, if they played each other before, how did it go? Cal State Fullerton went to UC Davis back in mid-January, lost 74-69. So it's a low bet game, but market's moving toward Cal State Fullerton. We have a really good bet split, in particular on the money line to win the game. Good splits, home road, revenge angle. Everything from a market-based perspective tells me Cal State Fullerton. Then, as I always like to do, we got to see what Rithmm is predicting for this game. So we'll go to all the upcoming games. Again, you can roll through them or just use the search bar to find them. And I'm going to scroll way down here because it's a late game here, 10 o'clock. And when we get to this matchup, we are going to see that Rithmm is with us here, Cade, with Cal State Fullerton. So if we find the game right here, first thing that jumps out to me, all three of my models on Cal State laying the 1.5. First house model from Rithmm, minus 1.3. Second model, personal model that I created, has Cal State -2. And third model that you and I created last week has Cal State -2.8. So you could say, hey, lay the 1.5, save some juice. But as always, short money line price. I got to win this game, Cade. I can't have a 1-point win, which Ken Palm is actually predicting Cal State by 1, and lose my bet because I lay a 1.5 because I wanted to save 5 cents of juice. No, give me the money line here. I love that all three models from Rithmm are saying take Cal State Fullerton to win the game on the money line. So the house model has Cal State winning. What I really like are 2 Green Star recommended plays, both on Cal State to win the game straight up. And that gives me more confidence here to play Cal State on the money line. Last angle would be find the best number. Polymarket, Calshi, closer to -110. You can pretty much find Cal State Fullerton anywhere -115. So that's a low bet game, but my market analysis tells me Cal State Fullerton, and more importantly, Rithmm is telling me to take Fullerton here. So I'm going Cal State Fullerton money line. But let me throw it to you here, Kate. Thoughts on this game? What do your models say? And are you riding? I believe they're the Titans with me here tonight.
Yeah. Once I, excuse me, once we pretty much like shared cards for the night and whatever, I did digging into this one as well. And yeah, again, how we created our own model, Rithmm Rundown model last week, mine has the same. It has sitting Cal State Fullerton -2.1, which I thought was interesting as well. But mine also had a green star and just doing the money line, which is what I love, which is, like I said, like you kind of hit on as well. Always doing the money, like the short money lines. Like they're cheap. They're there for a reason. You don't need the 1x2 for if you can get it for -119, whatever that is. Just pay the extra cents. It's worth it. I promise. But yeah, like I said, models projecting it. Same thing as I pretty much did last week. If like going over to like the research tab on Rithmm's end, which again, what I love about these like short lines essentially is looking into the main things, which is obviously rebounding, which they do lead the categories in on both sides of the ball, defensive and offensive rebounding, which is huge. The only thing it looks like that they don't lead in are assists, which I'm not really worried about sharing the ball, honestly. As long as they pretty much make their shots, I am perfectly fine with. And it looks like they shoot a lot. So like they are averaging 64 field goals attempted per game. UC Davis is only averaging 56. Obviously, we like more attempts. Obviously, it creates more opportunity. If you can create opportunity, you should see the ball fall. Now, they're not necessarily a perimeter shooting team. They like to kind of play interior, which, again, what I love. They draw fouls. They're good from the free throw line. Another good thing that I like to hit on these short lines. Same thing as I said last week. It's the same formula. A lot of it is plug and play. Rithmm makes it really easy for this one with the models being green stars. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Cal State Fullerton money line for me as well.
Love it. And yeah, that's kind of the way that I approach it. I'm glad you kind of backed that up, Cade, and gave us some of those great angles there. Also, you get into the stats too. Like, rebounding to me is huge. Like if you look at a lot of these box scores, the team that has the more rebounds, like think of it this way. One, more rebounds means the other team is missing a lot of shots. Like if you're making a lot of shots, you're going to have fewer rebounds because the ball's going in. It's not bouncing out and you're grabbing it. But to me, it's more of, limiting extra possessions, not allowing offensive rebounds, which can be super demoralizing. Like, late in the shot clock, you have a great defensive stand. And then, someone throws up a shot with 2 seconds left. They miss, but they get the offensive rebound. And it can have a demoralizing, feeling there for the team that gives up those offensive boards. So advantage there with Cal State Fullerton. And again, when Rithmm the key to me is when Rithmm backs up what I'm looking at from my foundational perspective, and the fact that we have the market moving toward the Titans, good bet splits, home road, revenge. But most importantly, we got a lot of these Green Star recommendations saying, hey, lay the money line here. That's good enough for me. So I'll be rooting pretty hard for Cal State Fullerton here tonight to win the game. After Fullerton, I got another one here for you, Cade. So let's look at it's kind of a late game as well, 9 o'clock. Uh, um, Similar here as we are seeing kind of a short number here that's moving further toward the home team, and it's Montana State and Weber State. So this is a matchup that is again low bet, not a ton of love, not a ton of public interest, but we're seeing the market and Rithmm react in the same way. So setting the stage for this one, kind of another fishy angle where Montana State is the favorite. They come in, or they're actually a short dog in this one, but they have the better record, 15-11, won 2 of their last 3. Weber, 13-14, just had a 2-game winning streak come to an end. They lost. They actually got rolled by Eastern Washington. What I like about this one, Cade, is it opened at a pick 'em at most shops. So again, spread of 0, pick 'em, whatever you want to call it. It's always important to me when a game opens at a pick, how do the sharps, the respected bettors, react to that? Because on the one hand, if the pros who set their own numbers also have a pick, then they're not going to get down. There's no angle there. There's no edge or advantage over the book. They're right there with the book. But a lot of times, sharps are going to say, "Oh, this is a pick'em game. It's a spread of 0. Ooh, we disagree. We have this team favored by 1 or 2. Therefore, they are going to hit that pick'em number and move that in favor of one team or the other." So that's kind of what we've seen here in favor of Weber State. I like Weber State on the money line in this one, Cade. They open at a pick. They're now up to -1, -1.5. So that told me that when it opened at a pick, Sharp said, "Hey, there's value here to go Weber just to win this game." Basically, pretty good splits at the on the money line here. So again, another money line short favorite. That all 3 of my plays are money line short favorites at a pretty low prices. But DK has Weber 51% bets, nearly 80% dollars, and Circa has 33% bets, but 70% dollars on the money line. So I like it when both DraftKings and Circa, big national public book, Circa, Sharp Book in Vegas, both have splits in favor of the team with the line move. If you can align all those movements with splits in the same direction for multiple books, again, gives me more confidence that the whole market is kind of trending in the same direction. You also look at some advantages here, and I'm excited to hear your breakdown on this one, Cade, because I found a lot of advantages for Weber State, even though they have a slightly losing record. Better offensive efficiency. They rank 144th in the country, 153rd for their opponent, Montana State. They also have the better offensive rebound percentage, 139th versus 277th. They force more turnovers. You can turn your opponent over. That's huge. Extra possessions. They rank 182nd versus 228th. And they limit their opponents to fewer offensive boards, 63rd in the country versus 102nd. All that being said, home road, once again, favors Weber. They're 9-5 at home, even though they have a losing record overall. Montana State winning record 15-11, but they're only 5-9 on the road. So home road hopefully benefits Weber. And just like we just talked about with Cal State Fullerton, we have a revenge play because Weber played Montana State on the road back in late January. They won 91-88. So once again, we've built a case based on what the overall market is saying. Pick them to favorite here with Weber. And then last angle to me is always, looking up to see what Rithmm has predicted for this game. So if we go to our 9 o'clocks and we find the Weber State game, pop it open right here. All 3 models, Cade, saying lay the points with Weber. House model from Rithmm, -1.4. My personal model, -2.2. And the model we created last week, -2.5. And I think when we created that model, Cade, correct me if I'm wrong, we applied a lot of I think it was a lot of 3-point shooting, free throw shooting,
Yes.
rebounding, angles that, if you bet long enough and you look at the box score and you're just watching the game, it's not rocket science or anything, but these are kind of the stats that typically predict a winner. But once again, I love it when we have a money line short favorite opportunity, and all 3 models are on Weber. So first house model winning by about 1.5. The second model, about 2 points or so. And the rundown model we created last week, looking at about a 3-point win. So all 3 models all spread and money line lining up on Weber State. So I'm a Weber State money line guy here, Cade. But tell me your thoughts on Montana State and Weber State.
Yeah, again, same case, short money line, pretty simple. My rundown model also has the Green Star recommended play next to it as well. Shocker, only because we created the exact same thing because the sliders are pretty much identical. So I'm not necessarily surprised. That is cool though, to think that we created that last week and we're already getting results. I didn't really look into it as much this week until prior to the show, because I haven't really seen a ton of recommendations, but today it had 3 or 4, I think 5 for me today, which is why I had such a larger card. But regardless, whatever. Same thing, same formula, rebounding battle, free throw battle. Weber has one of those teams that likes to play fast, but they just can't necessarily make the points match up for their tempo, which is strange for that kind of with that kind of squad. Nonetheless, I mean, they put up more shots and they don't necessarily make as much as Montana State, but I like their defense better. I really do. And I think that they forced a lot of turnovers very well. They average more steals. They get more blocks. They're a very defensive team. I don't want to say really defensive because they're really not necessarily defensive. They're just better defensively, if I can make that make sense to myself. Rebounding, again, averaging almost 35 a game, which is top 100 in the country. First of all, if you're top 100 in pretty much any category as a mid-major, that's very good, regardless. I don't really necessarily care what the number is. Just being top 100 in the country compared to all these power conferences, I'd say it's pretty good. To be exact, I think it says they're 70 in the 70s range, of rebounds. I like that a lot. Like I said last week as well, my strategy to college basketball betting is a lot of spot betting. With the last game against Eastern Washington, if you guys saw that, they lost 84-66, and not pretty. They're coming off a game where they shot 39% total, from the field, and then 16% from the perimeter. Lost the turnover battle, lost the rebounding battle. Ugly game. You hate to see that, right? Oh, good thing they're back at home against the team that they lost to earlier in the year. I mean, it's beautiful. And all of a sudden now they're favored. Kind of seems obvious in a way to take Weber, in my opinion. But again, the model, cherry on the top, all signs point to it. So I'm on the Cats as well. The Wildcats. Sorry, they're both cats. That was kind of misleading.
No, you're totally right. I'm with you here. And I think you hit on a really good point as you were saying it. This kind of applies to betting in general, Cade. And I even I fall into this trap, even though I know it. But I'm a human. I have emotions. I remember what I saw last. And it's basically having the guts to play a team after they let you down, or having the guts to bet on a team when they just got blown out. Because human, nature is that if I bet on you and I spent 3 hours of my night when I could have been doing other things, watching you and sweating you, and you let me down and play like crap, automatically that's going to upset me. And next time, maybe you're sharp. I'm going to say to myself, yeah, maybe they're sharp tonight, but they let me down. I'm not going to play them again. I'm not going to let them take more of my money. But however, as a bettor, as hard as it is, I think you just got to play it if it's a match. So I'm going to give you 2 examples here, Cade, of this happening to me recently. First one was Missouri, because I had played Missouri, I think it was last week or it was Saturday or it was a little bit ago, and they were at home against Texas. They were really short home favorite. I think they're -2 to -3. Public was on Texas. Mizzou was sharp as attack. Mizzou got beat up. They lost by 20 points. Missouri played a couple nights ago, or it was actually last night, where they were sharp again against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was a ranked team. They were, I think they ranked 20th or something. And Vanderbilt opened -4.5, got down to 3.5 for 3. And Vandy was a huge public play. However, having just bet Mizzou and watched them play and be complete idiots, Cade, and turn it over and make all these mistakes, I'm like, do I really bet them again? Well, I said to myself, and again, you're betting long enough, you just say out of principle, I'm just going to play you if you're sharp. But part of me said, do I really want to play Mizzou? Even though they let me down and got rolled by Texas, I said I got to do it, and they rewarded me. It wasn't easy, Kate. I don't know if you watched that game last night, but they were up by like 20 points against Vandy with like 8 minutes left and just completely imploded. Probably should have lost the game.
Yep.
But they ended up winning by 1 point. Now, it didn't matter because I got plus 3.5. So I'm like, just don't go to overtime. It's always the worst when, you go to OT and lose an OT. But that was an example of you got to play the match. Like if you had played Weber before and they got rolled and you're like, man, I can't play him again. You got to have the guts and just the wherewithal to stick with it. And hopefully they'll reward you. Second game, just to capitalize on this point, Iowa. I played Iowa against Purdue a week ago or whenever that was. They were super sharp. It made no sense. Purdue was the better team. Purdue destroyed them, and the public easily covered with Purdue. And then Iowa plays Nebraska the other night. Nebraska, ranked team on the road, but the line flipped dog to fave toward Iowa. They were like +1, flipped to -1, -2. Iowa had let me down, cost me money. I watched them, and they were pathetic and terrible, but they were sharp. And what happened? They beat Nebraska and came through. So just to everyone listening out there, I know it's super easy to say, team loses, let me down, cost me money. I want to kind of, fade them or not play them again. But no, I think you just got to stick with it and say, hey, I'm going to stick with my bet if it shows itself as being sharp. So I just wanted to make that point. But yes, hopefully Weber, after getting rolled, can come through for us tonight and get a win. Now, last bet for me, Cade, which is a crazy one, and then I want to hear all of your bets for the weekend. Alabama A&M, Florida A&M. Now, I must fully admit, this line has been all over the place, and I think this is what you kind of have to expect sometimes with an added extra game. So first, let's talk about what added extra games are. If you are in the nitty-gritty of sports betting, or if you're just getting into sports betting, to the right of the odds, you're going to have the juice, whatever that number is. It's a 3-digit number. -110 is standard, -115, -105. That's just the juice you have to pay to play that team. Usually when you go to a sports book, though, or you look in a sportsbook app, to the left of the game is going to be your rotation number or your ID number or your NSS number, whatever you want to call it. That's just how you identify the game, in chronological order on an odds page or at a sports book. Or if you walk up to a counter at a sports book and you say, I want to bet, game 365, $50 on the spread, they'll know what that game is because that's the rotation number. That's the ID number. Normally, it's going to be 3 digits. Game 565, 567. When you get into the added extra games, they're 6-digit numbers. So whole point being is this Florida A&M, Alabama A&M game at 8:30 tonight. It's game 306-611, 306-612. Automatically, that's that example of a obscure game. Can't name the mascots. Can't find the game on your betting app. Have no interest in this matchup from a public perspective. But I like line moves, and I like when Rithmm has an angle on these tiny little games that no one else wants to play. So going into this one, it's kind of been all over the place. Now, when I was looking at this game earlier today, we had, first off, setting the stage, we got Alabama A&M 15-11, won 3 straight. Florida A&M, they've lost 2 of their last 3, so they've struggled here a little bit. But this game opened with Florida A&M listed as a favorite at home. Florida A&M was about a 1.5-point favorite at home. Fast forward here, or actually go rewind to around noon today, Cade. This line flipped to Alabama A&M -1.5. So we went dog to fave in favor of Alabama A&M. Now, since that time, it's gone back to Florida A&M -1.5. So this is, again, one of those weird games where even though the public doesn't care, maybe you have conflicting smart money. Maybe you have this back and forth because there's action on both sides. But we're basically back to right where we started with Florida A&M -1.5. But in between, it has shown liability on the Alabama A&M side because, again, it at one point hopped the fence and went to Bama A&M favored here. Now, it hasn't changed that the splits look much better on the Alabama A&M side. 45% tickets, 61% dollars at DraftKings. We do have a good split on a money line play for Alabama A&M, 53% bets, 75% dollars. Alabama A&M has the better offensive efficiency. They rank 300th, which sounds really bad, but their opponent, Florida A&M, ranks 344th. They have the better free throw shooting, big advantage here, 106 versus 316th. They also hold their opponents to a better effective field goal percentage, 190th versus 242nd, and they don't turn it over as much. 188th versus 360th. All that being said, we're kind of back to where we started, but let's see what Rithmm has for this tiny little game, which is a 8:30 game here. Scroll down, big slate here. Again, you can always just click the search tab, top right, if you want to go straight to it. But I always like seeing 2K, like where are my green stars at? Is there a game that I forgot about or overlooked? But if we find this one here and we go to the Alabama A&M, if I can ever find it right here, all my models are saying stick with Alabama A&M. Again, even though it's kind of gone back and forth, but my first model, and you can get +1.5 right now, you might even be able to get +2. Rithmm says it should be a 0.7 game. So if you're getting 1.5, not bad. Rithmm says my second model, 0.2. The model we created, 0.6. So all these models are telling me this should be basically a pick'em game, and yet we can hopefully shop around and maybe find a 2, 1.5 for sure. There's actually a couple books that still have Alabama A&M -1.5. So there's kind of a disagreement across the market. All this is a long-winded way of me saying I'm going Alabama A&M. Now, I moneylined them earlier today, Cade. If you can get a 1.5, again, -110, I'll take it. But what are your thoughts on this one? Do you agree with, first off, were you surprised it went back and forth? Because if you bet college hoops every day, this is going to happen to you in some of these small games. You don't usually see it in the big games, but the small ones, maybe disagreement from wise guys targeting them. But any thoughts here, Cade, on the battle of the A&Ms, Alabama versus Florida?
Yeah. Any time that I'm looking at like a mid-major game specifically, and I'm seeing like a lot of the rise and fall, the ping pong, whatever you want to call it, going on, it's always alarming because like, why in the world are people actually getting active on this game? That's intriguing to me. Dig into why, you figure out why, and all of a sudden you have a playing line. Mine similar to yours, your models as well. I didn't actually have like a recommended play, but mine were also on Alabama A&M. Nonetheless, again, going from a spot betting standpoint and the market. In these games, market, I almost follow the market more than I follow the teams because like stats are one thing, obviously, but the stats are pretty much like, I don't want to say neck and neck because it's really not like the most even thing in the world, but then again, they kind of are in their own way. The market in these kind of games is like almost matters more to me than it does on like a Power 4 game tonight, if there is any, like whatever. Like it just matters because like there's so much sharp action being in line that you just have to keep an eye out for. And once you find that, and once you can pretty much find a way to follow that, like it's like I pretty much said from the beginning, it's a lot of plug and play. So like again, going into the model, seeing what it says, A&M's a hot team, like 3 straight. One of them is an outright win as a dog on the road against Grambling, it looks like. And Florida A&M is kind of all over the place. They win some, they lose some, they win some, they lose some. This game is actually pivotal if you look at the conference standings, where they're both pretty much 2 games back. So they're very neck and neck. So this game very much so does matter, I will say. At this point, it does seem like the value is more so on Alabama A&M side, despite being the road team. Again, games like these, there's really not a home court advantage. They're playing in a high school gym. There's not a lot of noise. There's not a really hostile environment. It's not like it really matters that much. Nonetheless, sometimes those games are almost more fun to watch, though, if I'm being completely honest. Like any of my sickos in here can probably agree with that, where I was betting college basketball when we were talking about NFL. These are the type of games I love, though. And yeah, all the signs to me point to Alabama A&M with the market and the model in line. So when that happens, it's a go for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think if you also are wary of situations like this, like if you are a market-based bettor and man, it's gone from this team favored by 1.5, then it flips to the other and it's back and forth. If you want to lay off that, that's okay too, because I do think there's a case to be made where, one of my biggest things, Cade, aside from a Rithmm recommendation, is I want to be with the sharps and against the public. Well, game like this, you hit the nail on the head. It's a tiny little gym. Crowd is really not a factor. Public's not playing this game, so throw away contrarian. Let's then focus on sharp action. you kind of have dueling smart money here. Again, where there was some smart money that hit Bama A&M to flip that line in their favor. There was also, let's admit, some smart money that probably said Florida A&M at plus 1.5 had value, flipped it back to Florida A&M. So again, easiest, safest thing would be don't play this game because it's had conflicting movement. Cade, I bet this game at like 1 o'clock this afternoon. So I've already bet it. I made my bed. I'm going to sleep in it. I will ask this of you, Cade, though. Like, when you bet a game and, the line goes the other way, like we all want, fingers crossed, CLV. We bet it minus 120. It's now minus 140. But in life and in sports betting, sometimes things don't break your way. Sometimes unexpected things happen. What do you do in that situation, Cade? Like, if you bet a team minus 120, like I did, for example, on Bama A&M, and now they're, plus 105, or you laid a 1.5 and now they're getting 1.5. How do you handle that? Because I just stick with it and I say, hey, maybe I'll get lucky. Hopefully with Rithmm, it's not really luck. Rithmm is recommending Alabama A&M. Or if I lose it, it's like I probably deserve to lose because I got the wrong number. How do you play it? How do you handle it when you bet a game and it goes the other way on you?
It is frustrating because you think it's like one of those things that you just work so hard for. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily work for the winning side. Like, you just want the best number available. That's my whole thing. Like I said, like I've pretty much told you, and ever since we started the show, could care less about the outcome. But as long as I did my job and finding pretty much like the best number, then I've done all that I can do. If anything, I get pissed off at myself when something like that happens, because to me, that's the win-loss. It's not necessarily the profit that comes after it. Although it's nice, that's not what we're here for, obviously. Nonetheless, I'm in the same boat with you because I've been getting burnt all week, pretty much. I don't know if you guys can see all the red right there. It's no bueno. I'm not happy about it. But again, it happens. And it's one of those things, like, once you're in, you're in. I don't really like cashing out of bets a lot of the times because a lot of times you end up losing more in a way. And like it may not be like your entire wager, but there's like $8 amounts, $11, 12, whatever your losses may be on your cash outs, they add up over time. And then ultimately that comes out to pretty much like negative in a way, if you want to call it that, which it is. There's not really anything differently that you could do, I guess, in a way. I mean, it sounds like it's just a big learning experiment. It's like it happens. It's the same thing as the outcomes. Like, it's a win or a loss. Like, it's nothing is ever guaranteed to finish at this number. Although you can have like your projections, like say that you're projected to get to this number, and which is a lot of what my models are based off of, which is why I bet them so early. A lot of times it doesn't happen. That's just the cons of betting stuff early. It's the cons of being a CLV data driven bettor. It happens. That's the best thing that I can say. And other than move on, essentially. But I mean, you kind of got to take them on the chin, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you really kind of put it perfectly. It's like, the market's sometimes going to go against you. I think a lot of these apps, and I use some of the same ones you do, like, they'll track your CLV. So if they give you a percentage of plays where, like, I'm beating the closing line value, 65% of the time, I'm getting beat by the closing line value, or I'm getting no CLV 35% of the time. Like, that tells me, and there's always this debate you can get into with bettors. Like, if I want to kind of investigate you as a bettor and figure out, okay, do I want to follow or tail your bets? Am I going to go just to your win-loss record? Again, there's obviously, a lot of merit to that. Or is there a case to be made where I want to see how often you beat the market? Because there's a lot of luck involved in winning and losing. But if there's someone who consistently is getting better numbers, that's someone that I'm going to trust a lot more than maybe someone who got lucky or just had a really good week or a good month. That tells me that if you're getting better numbers than what it closes at, what you're doing. That's the tail. That's the, kind of the tell to me that that's somebody maybe worth following. So great point by you there. But yeah, I'm sweating Bama A&M money line, even though I'm worried about it, Cade. Weber State, Cal State Fullerton. Let me flip it to you, my man, because you told me right before the show that there were some big games you're looking at over the next couple days. So the floor is yours, my man.
I don't think, let me see. I don't have like necessarily order. There was a couple though that I did have necessarily for today. I know I have one for tomorrow. I already have two for Saturday. I'm looking at one for Saturday. If I have a player that is on the injury report that is actually confirmed to be out, which if we have time, we can go over them. It's not a big deal. If not, whatever. Just be sure that you guys are following our socials, obviously, for these weekend cards because it's going to be a great weekend. Birthday weekend as well. So I'm looking to use that birthday cash to kind of just, send her on. You know what I mean?
40 minutes into the show, you just dropped.
I'm not a big.
It's your birthday, man.
I'm
Happy birthday.
Guy. Not today, but it's Sunday.
I know, that's why I like you. You're
Sunday. Humble. It'll be Mamba year, Kobe year, 20 big 2-4. Feels weird. I can hear the rust in my knees. It's starting already.
Happy early birthday, man. That's
Appreciate
awesome.
it. Hopefully the weekend treats me good enough to get some wins on the board, obviously. But nonetheless, we have tonight still. That's what matters because we're supposed to be bankroll building for the weekend. I'm going to go to Eastern Washington State and Sacramento State. And I'm going to go into a good late night over. This is one that, let me see, my regular personalized model actually had a green star on, and we are projecting just over 163. Nonetheless, looking into both of these teams, they play fast. They should put up a lot of shots. They make a lot of shots. If I have a common theme with some of these West Coast teams, I don't know what it is, but they're both nearly averaging almost 80 points per game. They're averaging tons of possessions per game, which is almost in the high mid 70s. They don't grab a lot of rebounds, which again tells me that they don't necessarily miss a lot. Either whether that's on the offensive glass, whether that's on the defensive glass, they don't really miss a whole lot. So that's all obviously intriguing to me. Defensively, nothing really highlights to me that they defend the perimeter incredibly well. Turnovers are pretty even, so I don't necessarily expect a lot of transition kind of matters. But looking at the three-pointers is one of the bigger ones, just because they attempt they both attempt 20 plus per game, which if you're putting up that many, you better be playing through your perimeter shooters majority of the time, which is what I'm hoping to God tonight is, because they make almost 8 per game, which is still good. Obviously, on some nights that may change. You may hit like 4, you may hit 2. I get I don't like sometimes you might hit 12. That's basketball. And if we go into what I'm really looking into is Sacramento State and their last 3 games. They are coming off of 3 straight losses in this case, which they're not very good. Nothing's really flashy about them. They just let teams pretty much score on them, and then they score on teams. That's all I'm looking at here. And a team that has lost 3 straight, they're coming back at home. A lot of teams like to play better at home. So I'm looking for a bounce back night for them on the shooting performance side. And then you go to Eastern Washington, who's coming off their hot hand of 4 straight wins, putting up 82 plus in 3 out of their last 4. So they're already hot. They're coming into Sacramento State looking to keep Sacramento streak going and theirs. It's going to be a fast-paced night. Decently high inflated total for how bad these teams are, but they both put up points. So I'm willing to take the chance and trust the model that we get until at least 163. That would be beautiful. Which I saw that your model had that too. Oh, okay. So it's our personalized AI model. That's why. Okay. That would make sense. Yep. Okay. Secondly.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So wait, what number did you get for
I
that
have
one?
161.5.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, Rhythm's with you. 162.
Good news.
And just one thing I noticed too, Cade, as you were talking, DraftKings only 28% bets, but 74% money is on that over. So that is a really good split. And that's, again, not a game that, is very popular. So I'm right there with you. Good call. I might tail you with that one.
I like it. And there's more where that came from, obviously, because I'm taking a Hawaii over. Anybody staying up till midnight tonight with me to watch this game? Or are we just it's gonna be like a wake and cash? Am I on an island there? I hope I have some sicko with me. The worst part is that we both have to wake up at 6 a.m. I don't care. Another one. This is actually a smart signal from the same model. And this one has same number too, which is really funny. 161.5. And the Hawaii versus Cal Poly, same projection. It's at 163.1. And similar formula here. Both teams again averaging 80 plus per game. Possessions is even higher than this. It's literally I don't want to repeat myself, but I mean, it's literally the same exact formula over again. Similar spot here for Hawaii. They are coming off of a 24-point blowout versus our very good friends over at Cal State Northridge. They put up 60 points last game. Nonetheless, again, they come back. They play much, much better on the island, you guys. Hawaii is one of those teams. They are first in their conference right now, actually, by the way. 10-4 conference play. Didn't even know that. That's actually kind of crazy. Nonetheless, one of those bounce back spots again. I like this idea for points on the island. They're favored by a big chunk in a big bounce back way. And then Cal Poly, on the other hand, again, coming off of a hot hand of their own, putting up 89 in their last game, 79 in the night before. I'll take my chance with the model again. I know Hawaii, they're almost projecting Hawaii nearly 90 points in this one, it looks like. Yeah. So my other model also had them at a caution flag for the over as well, which was sitting at 164, but it was a caution flag. So nonetheless, smart signal, pretty much all that I needed from mine, which was over plus one chance of 54 to 57 in a difference to market. So it's got a 53 and 38 record whenever those terms fit at an 11% ROI on a 91 game sample size. Love the chance. Love the smart signal there, obviously. And yeah, I'll see you guys at midnight for that one. If you are.
Yeah, ESPN Plus, man. I might be able to join you there. Although
yeah.
You're turning 24, Kate. I'm 38, man. I tell you what, 14 years from now, staying up that late, it's going to be a little more difficult than it is for you right now. But
I'm not doubting it.
Great point by you, though. Yeah, this model has 163.1. So it's a green star. You got about almost 2 full points of an edge. And man, you're sharp as a tack, man, because I looked at DraftKings, 35% bet, 68% dollars on this over. So both of those games, weirdly, almost the exact same number, but public is saying numbers too high, go under. Yet, we're seeing these discrepancies on the over. And I think that's important too, because here's another example, because I like to learn through losing. I think it kind of sounds kind of dumb, but when you lose, you're going to learn more about, kind of mistakes you made or ways to improve. So I laid it with Alabama last night, Alabama against Arkansas. Public was Arkansas. Alabama went from -3.5 to 4.5. Arkansas was fouling out all their guys, and they just, Bama could not find a way to win the game by 5 or more for me. But all day, I didn't play it. So I guess this actually coincides with the total, not the side. But on Twitter, Cade, everything that I was hearing or reading, or people that I don't even follow, but you have your follow tab, and then your the tab that they'll just give you stuff that has something to do with you're interested in. I get all these people that I don't know who they are, but they're in sports betting. And I constantly saw Arkansas, Alabama, the total's way too high. It was 181. It's too high. It's got to go under. And I know it went to double overtime, but they actually cashed the over in regulation. And that was an example of don't listen to what the Twitter X capper is telling you. Don't assume just because it's high, it's got to go under, or low, it's got to go over. That total actually ticked up. I think it was 181.
It did. It shot.
Yeah. That's 182, 183. And I guess my point here is that, when you're on Twitter, it's exciting. People put out content. It's up to you as the bettor to have a skeptical eye of people saying things without backing up by data. Because when the Twitter cappers are telling you it's too high, it's got to go under, the market was telling you the opposite. It was set really high and it ticked up even higher. So don't just automatically, you see this too, a Colorado Rockies total in baseball is 13 and a half. Man. It's 14. It's some really high number. It's got to go under. And then it's a 7-7 game in the 4th inning. So again, go off of data, go off the market, don't go off of assumptions just because it's too high or too low or what other people are telling you. But Cade, before we get out of here, did you have any more games for Saturday or anything, or any other games you're looking at?
Yeah, not necessarily for today. Tomorrow I know I did have one and it's gross. I absolutely love it though. It's so bad. It's funnier because this school is actually like 20 minutes from me. And like I could probably go to this game if I wanted to, but I just have absolutely zero desire to watch this team in action because I get so mad every time they win. Fading Miami, Ohio tomorrow.
The
I'm taking
undefeated Red Hawks, right?
I'm taking Bowling Green. I got them at +8. Um, it's just one of those like spots where it's like it's one of those things. See, college basketball is so weird because all of this media is now hyping up the only undefeated team in college basketball now. They had over 90% of spread dollars and like 80% of the tickets against the game in UMass. Absolutely dominated the game on the road. I would have played UMass if like the line wasn't so short, but like I just cannot play a game like that short to save my life against an undefeated team that's just been that good. Nonetheless, I'm really glad I held off because they literally won by like 20, I think, or something like that. All of a sudden they're coming back home against a team. Now this is weird because last game they played in December at Bowling Green. They were underdogs in that game. Obviously, they won. But now they're coming back home and they have pretty much the same exact line, except they're favored by that much now. I'm sorry. It's just one of those like things that makes absolutely zero sense to make a team this favored, this high, coming off of such a big win and how hot they are. Simply put, it's just a regression spot after coming back home. Like you're going to have the brightest lights. Your arena is probably going to be sold out. There's a ton of pressure for just a small school, for a small team like this. Never had this many. They're making history in this like right now. You have a tournament bid on the line where if you pretty much lose a single game, you're done. Is what it feels like. And from what everybody's talking about, it looks like. I don't know how true that is or not. I don't really do the bracketology stuff. I just root for the underdogs half the time in March anyways. Doesn't matter. Nonetheless, I got them at 8. All the numbers line up. My models were all on Bowling Green except for the one personalized one. And my other two still had a 52% chance or higher of winning, even though there were still caution flags, which I did like. I'm not going to get insane and play them on the money line or anything like that. I just think the line's a little bit inflated, giving like the last like game. I mean, like Bowling Green's offense, they're averaging over 80 plus points a game. Miami is pretty much right around the same almost, averaging almost like in the 90s, I'm pretty sure at this point, because they play jack squat. The MAC sucks. Okay. That's why they're not going to be in this tournament if they even lose one single game. Rebounding is pretty much dead even. They're both like right at 32 per game. Defensively, it's right around the same. Offensively, it's right around. Actually, Bowling Green leads on second chance opportunities. They lead in turnovers forced. They share the ball more. They force more turnovers. There's a lot at stake here, obviously. Now, I'm not like saying it's going to be like a buzzer beating win or whatever. I don't know. It's just 8 seems really high, knowing how like big these gaps, these win margins are for them just to come back home, enter their home crowd, and then do it again. It doesn't make sense. And again, given the last matchup, I'm all for it. So I'm just going to be the gross one, hold my nose with this one, assuming that the market is going to jump all over Miami again. I'll take my chance.
No, I think it's a really, really smart play. I'm looking at, first off, I think you got a good number. We'll see how it develops between now and then, but you got an 8. A lot of books are at 7.5 now. So that tells me as soon as this line dropped, guys like you, Cade, who know what they're doing, they didn't say, Miami's amazing, undefeated, they're going to roll. No, it looks like they went the other way with Bowling Green because those 8s are dropping a bit to 7.5. If we look at some of our Rithmm recommendations, right at 8, 8.1, we have a Bowling Green 7.5. You can get an 8. And then again, kind of right on the number 8.4. So it's not a huge edge either way. but I like kind of the angle that you're taking here because I'll make an analogy to the NFL. Not that, the Miami Redhawks are the Patriots from 2007, but remember, Cade, every time they won and stayed undefeated, the pressure mounted on the Patriots. They end up cracking, obviously, in the last game of the year. And then you got to look at it from the other perspective of like Bowling Green or teams that are going to play them. Maybe they don't have a big shot at the tournament. Maybe they haven't had a great year, but they're going to be motivated to knock off and the team and play spoiler against a team that's playing great. So you kind of have that angle in your favor. We don't have the splits yet because it's a couple days away, but I could almost assume that you're going to get a lot of bettors just saying, hey, I want to ride this incredible wave that the Redhawks are on. I'll lay the points with them just out of principle. But you made a lot of good cases here for taking the points. So I'd take the points with you here too. Let me ask you this too, though, Kay, because you mentioned that Miami game against UMass the other night, and I wanted to bet UMass, but I live in Massachusetts, and they don't allow you to bet on in-state college teams. So I can't bet UMass. I can't
No
bet
way.
Boston College. I can't bet stupid lawmakers. I mean, it's like
I did not know that. Holy cow.
They're afraid of inside information or some gambling.
I guess I kind of get it, but man, that sucks.
Yeah, it's like they think that some inside group is gonna point shave or make them throw the game just because you live in state.
Right.
When like I don't even that they're like way deep in the past. I will say though, they saved me a loss. So by not being able to bet them in my own state, I would have lost that game. I think they were like, what were they, +3 or 3.5?
It was like 2 to 3. It was something
Yeah.
around that range. I mean, like I loved every part of it just because like I've never seen like 90-90 like that before in a long time in a like mid-major game. So I was like, look at my chops. And I don't even know what happened. I think I forgot about it. And then next thing I know, it's like not even halftime and it's like 30-14.
Yep.
I'm like, cool.
I love when that happens. It was like the other night where who was it? I had Purdue against Michigan.
Yeah.
And like 90% were on Michigan. The 2.5 was kind of freezy-ish, and it was maybe coming back down to Purdue. It was your number one lopsided contrarian play. Michigan's too good. They roll. Public easily wins that one. So sometimes that'll happen. What can you do? But yeah, that about does it, my man. Hours worth of college hoop talk. I wanted to throw this up there. We had a question earlier from Boss Too Smooth. When y'all gonna add first half betting? Funny you mentioned this, Mr. Boss Too Smooth. After the NFL season was over, I sent an email to Rithmm saying, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, but Megan and Brian, any way you can add first half betting and any way you can add, I think I said teaser recommendations, for, next season. So Boss Too Smooth, fingers crossed. Remember, Rithmm's always working, trying to add great new features as they always do. But I would love to see that as well. Some first half plays, which could be great in, any sport really, or first 5 in baseball or, different opportunities like that. So hopefully we can get that added before you know it. But Cade, that about does it, brother. So another stream here in the books. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, for listening. Reminder, everything Cade and I talk about, you can do on your own with Rithmm. So go download Rithmm, use promo code START25 for 25% off. You can jump in the Discord channel if you want to talk to other Rithmm bettors. And reminder, we have the parlay optimizer as well, so you can kind of figure out which legs you want to use in that parlay if you are a parlay bettor. But that about does it, my man. Let's hope we can get some winners here. Happy birthday. Have a good birthday weekend.
Thank you.
And take us home. Any thoughts before we sign off, Cade?
No, I mean, I got the news that we were extending the show, and obviously I had to throw up some decoration because I feel like my little background was a little bit bland with my college flag up there. But yeah, no, I'm excited. No, I hope you guys don't mind my nerd being of Star Wars appreciation back there. Hopefully, we have some other ones in here. But no, other than that, man, big weekend, huge weekend for college hoops. Getting ready to probably go to the golf range and hit some golf. We got 60-degree weather here, so I'm taking advantage of it before it hits down to 30 next week, probably again.
Or are we going to Top Golf or just local range, or what do you working with?
It's a local range. Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
and I used to be in the Top Golf, but not about the whole game. Great date idea, by the way, fellas, if you need to. Fantastic, you know. And they have the TV so you can watch your game still. You can get your time. Amazing, amazing food and drinks. But yeah, nonetheless, like I said, big weekend. I'm hyped. We'll get after it. Why not?
Amen, brother. And I agree with you. Top Golf. There's none around me in New England.
Oh wow.
But a couple years ago, me and my wife went down to Florida. We were in Orlando for a bit with some of her family who I didn't really know that well, and we went to Top Golf. Hit a bunch of balls, got drinks, got food. I'm like, I see why people like Top
Yeah.
Golf. You think it's just for the golf? It's kind of for
In
the
a
other
way,
stuff. It's like basically a bar where you can hit golf balls. So
It's a steal.
I am fully with you there, buddy. Yeah. But thanks again, everybody tuning in. Again, download Rithmm, give them 5 stars, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys again next Thursday. We're at that point, Cade, we're going to be 1 week closer to conference tournaments to March Madness. So, and also 1 week closer to baseball.
man.
So we'll be able to talk about that soon as well. But good luck, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great Thursday night. Take care.